Is this where we're supposed to meet the guy?
You know, this is like a block away from the corner where I meet my Halo dealer.
This is the spot, all right. Something's not right here.
Maybe they're late. Probably should settle in for a bit. What the... I was just leaning over here.
Oh my gods, is that a body?
Certainly looks that way.
Ew, it looks fresh. Yeah, one time I found this guy that'd been dead for a while. It looked pretty gross.
Yeah, the body is still warm. Guys, I think this might have been our contact.
Does he still got our money?
Good thinking. If the money's gone, this was probably a mugging gone bad.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Go do some detectiving. I really wish I could get paid for this. A lot of trouble.
Hey guys, I found a briefcase. It feels like it's full of gold. Ah, yeah, it's full of gold.
Sweet, at least we're still getting paid.
Hey, shut up. This is not a joke. He's been stabbed in the back.
Yeah, that ain't good. I don't like this one bit.
Hey, what's not to love? We got a briefcase full of gold and whatever's in this briefcase. I bet we can sell it for another briefcase full of gold. Double our profits.
How many times do I have to tell you to shut up? We need to go. Now.
Yeah, I think that might be best.
Welcome to Magic Proving Grounds, the only Magic the Gathering podcast that proves you can make a podcast with no power whilst sitting in the dark in your basement. How's everybody doing today? How you doing?
That's me. You describe me.
Yep.
I'm sitting in my basement with no power.
And
no pants.
So
to be fair, it's dark.
When the power goes off, your pants go off.
Yeah, it's too hot out, man.
Did not need to know that about you.
Yeah, power goes out, no AC, you strip down.
I had to unplug my freezer for this. So, other than your power being out, how you doing, co-host Ben?
Pretty good. I've been kind of busy. We had some unexpected stuff come up. So apologies for not having the episode last week. We are working on maybe filling in that gap, giving the episode later in a special way. So
special way, the No Pants Podcast.
This week on a very special podcast, Ben has no pants. So how are you doing this evening, other Dave?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's been a good couple weeks. I got to play a good bit of Magic. I did a couple drafts. Almost got the full prizes on Arena for those drafts. 6 wins both times.
Oh, man. So close. Great job.
The first one really upset me. I got to 6 wins, and I only lost once, so I still had 2 losses left, and then I lost 2 times in a row.
Oh, man, that's rough. I feel for you.
What can you do? It's limited, and my opponents just had the perfect hands, and sometimes that just happens.
Yeah,
that's basically the only way I win is that I've got the best hand I could possibly get, and they have the worst hand they could possibly get. Skunk out a few wins. Anyways, I am also your host, Dave, the other Dave, Moderator Dave, if you will, since I run...
Inferior Dave.
Well, I have to
sorry, I forgot. You have an official title now. It's Dave Inferior. It's been blessed by the Pope or something, right?
Yes, the Pope of Magic. So let's just dig right into the news. We'll celebrate if Ben's power ever comes back on. And let's just do this first story. Why don't you take that one? Other Dave, Superior Dave.
Dave Superior. My name's also been blessed by the Pope now.
No, I feel left out.
So Seth McKinnon, one of my favorite Magic the Gathering artists, and a lot of people's favorite Magic the Gathering artists, is killed it on numerous pieces of artwork, is doing a comic book cover for Poison Ivy. It is a 1 in 50 incentive, which means that your comic book store needs to order 50 copies to be eligible to receive it. But it is a beautiful cover for Poison Ivy. So if you are into Seb McKinnon art, it's probably worth looking that up when it comes out. It will probably go for a pretty penny, but check with your local comic book stores, see if any of them get it.
I've seen it. I looked on it. We have a link to the tweet where he announced it. You guys would like to see the cover. It's very whimsical. I like it a lot.
Yeah, he's a good artist. I like it.
Check it out, and then we'll move on to the next story, which is...
It's also me. I'll take this one. I think this is the first time that this has happened, but I am not 100% sure. Last week, May 25th, Magic Gathering Hidden Planeswalker comic book issue 2 came out, where they talk about a new Planeswalker named Maeve the Looking Glass from a plane, I believe, called Acan or Ican. I don't know how you say it. So, to the best of my knowledge, I could not find any card references to Maeve or the plane Acan. So I believe this is the first time they've introduced a Planeswalker through the comic books. Although I have not read the older comic books, so I can't be 100% sure of that. You only see her for a second at the end, but they do talk about her a little bit as someone who uses prismatic magic, so I think there's a possibility that she could be a 5-color Planeswalker.
Ooh.
She comes from a plane that was destroyed by Merit Lage, and Liliana finds her there and breaks her out of the glass at the end of the comic, or breaks her out of the ice, sorry, not glass. And she attacks Tezzeret, and that's how the comic book ends. But first look at a new Planeswalker through a comic book could be something to look forward to in the cards. I don't know yet.
Interesting.
Thought that was interesting enough for us to talk about.
Merit Lage is still on Dominaria sleeping, right? I like, cause her, is it a her? Is it a thing? It's an unfathomable horror, but not an Eldrazi, Merit Lage.
I do not know if the current run of comic books is considered canon or not. But in the current run of the regular Magic the Gathering comic books, they lure her to... Because she's going to attack Ravnica, and then they lure her to... What's the Planeswalker where... or the plane... Amonkhet. They lure her to Amonkhet where everyone died.
Oh, yeah.
And trap her on Amonkhet.
Ooh, that's a good move. There's some... I don't read the comics, but so there's some pretty good story there. I take it.
Yeah, I enjoy it. It's well written. The art's nice.
Is this story quality?
I did really like those books. I hesitate to say it's that good since it hasn't ended, and so I can't really tell you how it ties up. But there are a lot of threads. There are a lot of moving parts. It has been interesting. You have seen a lot of fan-favorite Planeswalkers through the journey, so there's good fan support in there. As long as it sticks the landing, I think it could compare to the books.
Oh, man. You're making it hard for me not to want to go get this stuff then, because I got a lot of expensive hobbies. Try to keep my comic books to a minimum. But I think we should move on before I start to Jones for comic purchases and cover the arena announcements. Storylines. Yeah, Magic storylines in comic books. Almost too good to pass up. Let's go and move on to the May 25th arena announcements. A little late because of the last podcast not coming out, but we're going to cover them because I think they're kind of interesting. Specifically, we're going to talk about first the alchemy changes and get your opinion on them. I think the top changes that I saw from the article were that the rarity distribution has changed. So in the past, a lot of the alchemy cards were rare and above, which caused, people to be really salty about the fact that they had to buy a lot of packs to get the alchemy cards that they wanted, or they had to craft a lot of alchemy cards that they wanted because they're all rare, and rares are the hardest wild card to obtain because that's where that's the sweet spot, as we all know. So they've decided to distribute the alchemy cards more at uncommon rather than rare, so that they're a little easier to get.
So, two things.
Yes.
So they're making cards more uncommon for alchemy, so they don't have to spend as many wild cards on them.
Yeah. So the idea that they're going for is that rather than having to craft however many rares, which was in the past, it was mostly rare, you'll be crafting more uncommons and less rares to get the alchemy cards you need.
Gotcha. Which is a good change, but I wonder how much that is belying the state of alchemy and how good it is doing monetarily for them. Meaning that it's not really picking up, it's not taking on, they're not getting a lot of players in alchemy. So do you think that's the reason why it's the rarity is being lowered to make it more accessible kind of thing?
Personally, for sure, I think there's not enough people playing alchemy to warrant making alchemy a thing. So they're trying to make it more accessible for people to...
Yeah, definitely. There are a lot of people who are not a fan of alchemy and who do not want to put their resources into it. So
that's a good change. I mean, but again, I feel it's like the writing's on the wall for alchemy. Maybe that might be a bold statement, but if the case is that they started alchemy less than 6 months ago, or just 6 months ago, and they are now just like, oh no, we have to lower everything down because nobody's playing it, and they're foregoing like their money pit, then that's bad news for the alchemy as a whole. Good news for us.
I feel like it's a real shame because I think with Magic Arena you could do some really interesting things with alchemy and really make it something different and unique and fun. Because there are a lot of things about it that I do like. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like it's been well executed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a handful of cards from alchemy that I like. For example, I can't remember the name right off the top of my head, but it's the Hedge Witch, I think is what it's called, or something Witch. It's black, 1-drop black card that when it dies, you draft a spell from the spell book, and then it's a selection of cards that you get randomly that you get to pick from. That's a neat mechanic that I like a lot. So those cards are interesting, but like I drafted that deck because it just happened to be one I pulled off the internet and then crafted that particular card for it. I'm not going out of my way to look at alchemy stuff on its own because, like, what's the point? You know?
Yeah, there was a white card that I really liked when I messed around with it. I think it searched up 2 random 1-cost creatures in your deck and put them into play.
Oh, is it the lieutenant guy or the commander?
Yeah.
The white commander guy? Yeah.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with him.
This could be the move that they need to do because it shouldn't be prohibitively expensive for people to try to get in on it. And, like, I think people's hesitance is based on, like, well, if I buy these cards and then they're good and then they change them, now they're bad and I've spent all these resources on it. So if they can make that resource hit a little less intense, then I think people might pick up on it more.
I think that convincing people who are typically like paper Magic players or people that came in from that space that the digital only stuff is worth getting into, especially when it's so much more than what you're already getting to get the stuff that you want. That barrier for entry is too high for a lot of people.
Changing a Magic player's opinion is not easy.
Yeah, especially when the entry cost is crafting rares or buying packs till you get the rares you want. It's a big ask.
Oh, hey, I'm supposed to remind you before the end of the podcast to plug your freezer back in.
Yeah, you should do it closer to the end of the podcast.
Well, you didn't say that. You just said before it ends.
True.
Your sign-off this episode needs to be reminding me to plug in my freezer. Anyhow... So, moving on, unless you guys have anything else to say about the rarity distribution changes, we'll just speed through some of the other changes to alchemy and the client itself. I think that you, Ben, will appreciate this a lot because I remember sitting here waiting for you to figure out which card you needed to remove from your deck and put back in so that you could play a standard match with me. In direct challenge mode, and that is that alchemy cards are now hot swappable. What that means is that if you're joining a format like standard, where there is a paper equivalent to an alchemy card that you have in your deck, the client will automatically take out the alchemy version and put in the standard version so that you don't have to dig through your deck and figure out which one was the one that you needed to pull out and put back in.
Or have two separate decks, one based on alchemy and one not.
Yes, that too.
Yeah. So Goldspan Dragon, if it's in your deck, if you play an alchemy thing, it's the alchemy version. If it's if you're playing a standard event, then it's automatically switches to the standard version, so you don't have to mess with that. Because I never got that deck working.
Yeah, they fixed that. That's how it's supposed to work now.
That's a good change.
Yep, and I think we should note that if there is no direct standard legal equivalent to the alchemy card, then it obviously doesn't do that. Because there's nothing to replace it for. So if you
like Town Razor Tyrant.
Yeah. So if you've got a card that exists only in alchemy, it will not hot swap it out for you. And then another change to the client, this quality of life stuff, is that craft all button and the delete your deck button apparently were confusing people. It apparently was a big enough problem for people that they restyled and rearranged those buttons to prevent the misclicks from, burning all your wild cards on a deck you were really trying to delete.
Was this an accident, or was this working as designed and everybody complained about it?
Well,
I don't know. Don't want to get tinfoil hat.
Put your tinfoil hats on.
These kind of things just shows me that they are paying attention to what people want, which is good.
Yep. This is the thing that I didn't know I wanted, but definitely want this next coming change.
Were they paying attention to what people wanted when they made the Dark Alliance video game?
No, they weren't.
I don't even know what that is, man.
It's Dritz and Canterbury and Burner and Wolfgar all in a video game you can play with 4 people, one of each.
Oh.
It was bad.
Probably why I never heard about it. Nobody ever bothered to like it enough to tell me about it.
Makes me sad.
Okay, so seriously though, I was getting all gushing about this next change, and you guys are chit-chatting about a video game that is definitively not Magic.
Hey, they have cards. Each one of those characters have magic card. Magic adjacent.
Yeah, technically correct.
Yeah, technically it is one of the planes in Magic now, so.
Yeah.
We were playing a Magic video game.
Okay. You guys can't see my face, but giving you all the side eye. Anyways, as I was saying, this next change is the change I didn't know I wanted, but definitely need.
I don't accept your side eye, but if you're going to give me a little bit of side boob, sign me up.
You have some pretty nice man boobs, if I don't say so myself. Not to brag.
Oh, yeah.
Starter deck folders and tabs. It's probably more of a foldery tab.
Thank God.
Yeah,
yeah, I don't want to. They have some really good ideas that they give you for free. And I'm like, hey, this is cool. I can use this. But now my whole deck list is filled with these starter decks, and I don't have to choose which ones I want to delete. That's bad. Or you make one and get a new one, and it gets hidden between all these starter decks. You have to search for it. Nothing
chaps my butt more than having to dig through all the starter decks to find my janky homebrews.
I even started naming my decks like AA- and the name of deck. So it stays at the top.
Nice. Well, now you won't have to because you have a deck dedicated to starter decks and a folder dedicated to brews. You think this might expand to separate formats? That would be cool.
Oh, yeah. I bet it will. Seems like a natural evolution, yeah.
Yeah, there's already tech in the game.
MTGO has had this ability to filter out by type for a while.
For probably ever. I don't know. I wasn't around in 99 when it started.
It's just an Excel spreadsheet being visualized. Hey, this one's over here in this group. This one's over there in that group.
This is what the spreadsheets do best, man. On to the last little chunk of news, and then we'll move on to... you guys want to talk about the Arena Championship here in a minute?
Then we'll move on to you plugging in your freezer.
Yes.
Live on the podcast so that people can hear it.
We should do it live, and then they'll be firing up the jet engine. It'll be amazing.
Get those nipples cold for the side boob shot.
Well, of course. Okay. You're making.
I really know how to devolve a podcast.
You do. That's why you're here.
Just thinking the same thing.
All right. Seriously, though, I'm trying to moderate, and you guys are making it difficult. Okay, so let's talk about the New Capenna Championship. It happened, was it last weekend?
The 20th, I think.
The 20th. So
Thinking of the 20th.
that was before we had to. Okay, so that happened before we had to delay last week's podcast. Ben, you have a story you want to talk about related to this?
As probably most of the internets or people that were paying attention to this, I was kind of following the Naya aggro deck. Isamichi Yoshigo brought his little homebrew deck that he took all the way up to third place. I just thought it was a neat and heartwarming story that shows that everyone can qualify for these things if you try, I guess. As the story goes, this guy homebrewed a deck and took it to his, local event just to, test it out and play it, and ended up winning and didn't know that it was a qualifying event for the New Capenna Open, and then subsequently qualified for said event and took it all the way to third place. As a person who, I pay a lot of attention to the meta and things surrounding the meta, it's nice to see the old ways of Magic where you just homebrew a deck and then just, jam it with your friends. A similar thing happened on a higher competitive level.
This story sounds like something I would do where I'm accidentally enter the wrong event, but not win. Yeah, I'd heard rumblings about this story too, so I thought it was kind of heartwarming myself. Very cool.
Yeah, and I think it's a hopeful thing for people because I do hear a lot of, well, if I don't have a meta deck, I might as well not even go to this event because I'm not going to win, so it doesn't matter. But this guy showed that you actually can just, homebrew a deck. I guess Magic has gotten to the point, it seems, where you have a meta deck and you switch one or two cards to kind of combat another meta deck or what the current meta state is right now. And people have accepted that that's how it is. But this guy obviously is showing us it's possible just to, jam some cards.
No, it's a cool story. It's always interesting to hear someone who grabs some sort of success. Any kind of new blood is welcome because it feels like Magic tournaments have been somewhat stagnant for a while in terms of who's in them and how they get into them.
Hopefully the new scheme helps shake things up a bit too.
Scheme.
Pyramid shape.
Yeah, because when it starts with a lot of people and they get narrowed down to a smaller base and a smaller base.
And
the pyramid.
Very top, there's the winner. Move on to Baldur's Gate spoilers. We do this, or have done this for the last two sets, rather than totally and utterly exhaust y'all with every card in the entire set where you just sit around and yammer about it. We hand-selected, if you will, a few cards from the Baldur's Gate set that we all like for our own weird reasons, and we're just going to go over them and talk about them. And you guys are welcome to come along for the ride. Let's get started. Which one of y'all wants to go first?
I think the guy with no internet should go first. I'm kidding.
I actually have it. I have it pulled up.
Okay. If you are ready, feel free to take the reins.
Sure. I just I'll just lump them all together. The Ancient Dragons, there's one of each color. I like the play for a commander play style that these are promising. They seem pretty interesting. We'll talk about Ancient Copper Dragon. It's 4 colorless, 2 red, Elder Dragon creature. It's a 6/5 flying. Whenever Ancient Copper Dragon deals combat damage to a player, roll a d20. You create a number of treasure tokens equal to the result. So each of the dragons have, if you deal combat damage to a player, roll a d20. And then the difference is what happens based on the number that you roll. So for the Copper Dragon, it's create a number of treasure tokens equal to the result. And that sounds pretty busted to me.
Yeah.
Potentially busted.
It's pretty sick. If you had this in a Goldspan Dragon out, you could potentially be dropping 40 tokens on the battlefield all at once.
Well, it's 20, but they would tap for 40 mana.
Oh, no, I'm thinking Zorn. You're right.
Yeah, Zorn would only create max 21 with this.
Yeah. But it's 40,
either way,
double the mana with Goldspan. Yeah.
Yeah, as we showed with our treasure token challenge with Bootlegger Stash, you can do some wild stuff with treasure tokens, even aside from just the mana.
Doubling season would still double it, right?
I believe so.
Because that's any token, right?
Doubling seasoning. Tasty. Doubling
giving you ideas, aren't I?
Yes.
And the black one is basically you reanimate that many number of creature cards with total mana value equal to that X from graveyards onto the battlefield. So you can pick things from other people in your commander tables, graveyards also. So yeah, they do different things. I just thought that especially the Copper Dragon stood out to me as super good.
Yeah.
Proof that you can like your dragons just like you like your women as elders.
Don't discriminate.
It's okay. No kink shame.
All right. Thought about it really hard for a second, but it's probably best we drop it.
Instead of breaking your heart, I'll break your hip.
Don't go breaking my hip.
What's your first pick of the set there, Other Dave?
So I am intrigued by this background subset, I guess, however you would word it. And I really like the Criminal Past one that gives them menace and the creature gets +X+O, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard. I feel like that has the opportunity to get really out of hand in Commander. And I think if it was just one of those abilities by themselves, I wouldn't like it as much. But Menace combined with the additional attack power makes it harder to block. I find that one very interesting.
Let me ask a question about the background to make sure I fully understand it. You can have a commander who has the term background, kind of like partner, but it says background.
Yes.
And with that, you can have a card, which is like a legendary enchantment background that you can cast from your command zone like a commander?
Yes. And also, it alters the commander's color identity. So if you have for example, mono green commander, and you have selected Criminal Past as your commander's background, you can now cast green and black cards.
Oh, okay. That's neat.
That's how they work, and I think it's a very cool mechanic, and at this point in time, it might be a little underrated as far as how fun it will be.
That remains to be seen.
I will tell you about my first card pick, and that is Astron's Thirst Trap. I'm sorry, Astron's Thirst. It's a 3 and a black instant. Exile target creature. Put X +1/+1 counters on a commander creature you control, where X is the power of the creature exiled this way. I think that's a pretty cool card. I also think that it is definitely got some pretty good art. So
yeah,
good pick.
He looks like he's enjoying that vampire bite.
He does. He's
definitely enjoying it. No doubt.
Have you guys
becoming a vampire now?
Have you guys watched any True Blood?
I watched like 37 minutes of the first episode and was like, no thanks.
It's all right. Yeah, but they've got the vampire groupie type people. I imagine that might be a vampire groupie.
Yep.
That's how I interpret it. On to the next pick.
Let's talk about something they don't usually do. I think prior to this, there's only one in existence, right? Planeswalker Commander?
They have a handful. They released some
okay.
in, what was it, Commander 2014. All of the commanders were Planeswalkers, and then again in, 18?
Once again, I was wrong. So anyway, there's a new one.
Not surprising.
There's two new ones, but I'll talk about Tasha the Witch Queen. Tasha is a character who's a very powerful mage from the Dungeons & Dragons universe. It's really cool. She has some cool spells. She has books written after her. So I think it's cool that they made her a card. And she's a legendary planeswalker, Tasha. She costs 1 black, 1 blue, and 3 colorless. Whenever you cast a spell you don't own, create a 3/3 black demon creature token. Her +1 is draw a card for each opponent, exile up to 1 target instant or sorcery card from that player's graveyard, and put a page counter on it. For -3, you may cast a spell from among cards in exile with page counters on them without paying its mana cost. She has 4 starting loyalty. So yeah, that's pretty cool. You drop her, then +1, grab a card from somebody else and exile it from the graveyard. And then you can minus it and then cast any one of those spells that you pull and then simultaneously make a demon token. Seems pretty good. It's in the Mirror Callers too, so there's a lot of graveyard trickery you can do with that synergizes in your commander deck.
3 spells and demons?
Thief of Sanity.
Yes.
Right into those colors. There's a ton of stuff you can use, but Thief of Sanity is always my favorite. It's no other people's card. Anytime I could beat you with your own cards, I'm going to try and do that.
And then laugh.
Yeah, I think it's a cool card. Like the art, like the callback to Dungeons and Dragons. Pretty nice.
Amazing they did that in the Dungeons and Dragons set.
I know, right? It was very unexpected. Talk about subverting expectations.
So, just a background. I was always one of those people when they made a creature card or a legendary card that was like a character in the books. I wanted to collect it. I wanted to have that card. Now they do it all the time. This is back in Urza's Legacy and stuff. Way back in the day. Now it's like a main feature of Magic is that they're reprinting these planeswalkers since they, formed the Gatewatch, and now they have planeswalkers that continue from plane to plane in the story, so you're familiar, blah, blah, blah. So that's not as big, but it is nice to see the D&D ones in here that I can collect now, too.
Yeah. I always remember that you collected legendary creatures and characters, and I remember when the first Kamigawa came out, I was like, Ben's probably really glad he doesn't collect right now, because there was like a million legendary creatures in that set.
There was.
Yes.
Every creature was legendary, wasn't it? Or
it wasn't every creature, but it was like 50% of them. It was a huge chunk of the creatures in that set were legendary.
That's right.
Very cool. Now I just have to collect the ones that are from the stories that I like. I never got her, but one of these days I'm going to get the Belby that they released in whatever commander set she was. My favorite character from Apocalypse.
Who?
Belby.
I don't remember her. I know I read Apocalypse.
She was in Apocalypse. Was she in Apocalypse? She might have died before Apocalypse. I meant that whole. She was Wrath, and she was in Wrath.
Oh, okay.
And
all
Storm.
Right. Yeah, I know you're talking about now.
Wasn't she basically Thanos' daughter?
She was like a completed elf.
Yeah.
That reported back to Yagg.
But she was also good, though, but not good.
Yeah, she had an arc where she was trying real hard to decide whether or not she was going to be good or not. And,
yeah. Okay.
I still have all the Chainer cards because I had an affinity for him.
Yeah, he was a cool character.
His Modern Horizons 2 card is supposedly a pretty good commander. The Chainer Nightmare Adept.
Yeah, I have one of those.
Yeah, Chainer was sweet. I need to read those again. Dang it. Hey, do you know what I just learned? About the whole Odyssey block, the two blocks they did on Odyssey, Crosa or whatever. Yeah, that's on Dominaria. Not even complain.
You didn't know that?
No, I think in the last podcast we did, we were talking about something, and it was like, in whatever plane Odyssey took place on, but turns out it was Dominaria.
Oh, I didn't. I would have told you it was on Dominaria. I didn't catch that.
That was it.
Yeah,
that's where the Mirari's from.
Yeah. Anyways, this concludes Magic Lore Nostalgia Corner. Let's get back to task at hand, which is going over new cards. So, Other Dave, do you want to skip your turn since Ben straight up jacked the card that you were going to talk about?
Did you?
Yeah. I guess technically it's not cheating if you go first, but yeah, it was on his.
It's all right. I know you don't have resources right now, so I don't mind if you end up stealing one of mine.
Yeah, sorry, I would have done Elminster if I would have known that. Cause
put it in the show notes and everything, man.
I'll just talk about a different card. I'll talk about the Wizards of Thay. I like them. They're referenced in the books a lot. You hear about them a lot. The 3/3 for 4. They have Myriad, which is whenever this creature attacks for each opponent other than the defending player, you can create a token that's a copy of this creature that's tapped and attacking player planeswalker they control. Exile all tokens at the end of combat. Instants and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, and you make cast sorcery spells as though they had flash, which is absolutely insane.
Yeah,
I love casting sorceries as though they had flash. That's probably
and then you attack with them, you get a bunch of copies. As long as you're smart about who you're attacking, in a 4-player game, you're reducing the cost of your instants and sorceries by 3. Plus, they have flash. I love it.
Yeah, that sounds pretty powerful. Instant speed, Wrath of God.
Just any time that I can do something that is typically sorcery speed as an instant, I love that mechanic. Because even back when equipment was a thing, I remember I really liked the Shikari just because I could do equipment as an instant.
Lightning Greaves and cranial plating. Yeah,
you can do that stuff as an instant. Nice. I do it all day. What's your next card, Dave?
What's my next card? You guys seem to be having a moment. I wanted you guys to have your moment before we moved on.
We've had a lot of moments this podcast. Yes, so.
Exactly. For a minute here, I struggled my list becoming cool cards I just wanted to put in my commander deck. Bear with me.
I mean, this is the best time to talk about cool cards you want to put in your commander deck while we're getting a commander set.
That's true, but it's
Other sets, I might make fun of you for it, but right now,
Yeah.
it's just the
In
one,
September,
though.
you're
It's
probably
not
going to have a
like...
hard time getting commander content in.
Yeah, it's just the one deck, though. It's not like, I'm going to put this one in my one deck over here. It's just, this is the one, so...
Your one wall deck.
Yeah, my wall, it's going to be sick, man. I'm telling you. I'll hype it up, and then everybody's going to be like, this isn't actually that good, man. Anyway.
I have faith in you.
Kindred Discovery is an enchantment. It's 3 blue. As Kindred Discovery enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Whenever a creature you control of the chosen type enters the battlefield or attacks, draw a card. So this is basic, nice tribal add-in for blue. Obviously, when you're building Bant Wall, tribal, nice.
Yeah.
So
That's a super powerful card. I feel like you can break this pretty easily.
yeah,
Well, I mean, it's commander. You can break everything pretty easily.
That's true.
For starters.
it's commander. If it's not broke, you're not trying hard enough. So that's mine. Like I said, great tribal card in my humble opinion. So
It seems like a very great card draw engine.
I love card draw engines. That's all I'm going to say about it.
man, if all I could do is just draw cards all day, I would.
What's funny is on your deck, you're going to play this and you're going to name Wall, which have Defender. And then when you attack with them, you're going to draw a card.
Yeah, that's the thing, because
Ridiculous.
Arcades, the strategist, lets creatures with Defender attack as though they don't have Defender. So
Yeah.
and also use their toughness in place of their power. So you're dropping like 2-drop creatures that are like 0/5, and then attacking for 5.
What's the
draw
one
card.
blue, one white, one colorless, the 0/8 flying wall?
I don't remember. I don't got that one off the top of my head.
I mean, it's got to be in the deck, right?
Well, I'm sure it is.
You don't sound very positive that it's in your own deck. So.
I'm putting it together. You know what? You're bullying me right now. I don't like it. So we're going to move on.
Well, I was just going to ask what Arcades' colors were.
Bant, so it's blue, white, green.
Oh, okay, so yeah, you will put that Wall in your deck, right?
Yeah, I'm sure it's in there. I just don't know. Call it off the top of my head. Because who's going to turn down a freaking 0/8 Wall, man? That's goofy.
Yeah.
Anyways, what's your next card?
I was just going to do Elminster.
Sure.
He is also another character in D&D, and he's a planeswalker that can be your commander.
Nice.
So much like Tasha. He is 3 white-blue. Whenever you scry, the next instant or sorcery spell you cast this turn costs X less to cast, where X is the number of cards looked at while scrying this way. Sorry, my internet's really crappy, and it was fuzzy. So you +2, draw a card, then scry 2. And then, as a result of his other ability, your next instant or sorcery spell would cost 2 less because you scryed 2. And then you can minus him 3, exile the top card of your library, create a number of 1/1 blue fairy dragon creature tokens with flying equal to that card's mana value.
So, in general, this is a pretty good Planeswalker because you can pop it down and then make things to protect it.
Unfortunately, it's draw a card and then scry 2 and not scry 2 and then draw a card. But that's probably a balance thing, because otherwise what you would do is you would scry, find your spell you want to cast, and then basically cast a really cheap spell. But anyway, this card is doing what you want to be doing as a Azorius player anyway. You know, scrying, drawing, casting instants and sorceries for cheap. It's just helping you do that better than you normally would, which is super powered.
What's the most you can scry off a card? What's the highest scry you can trigger off this? It's 3, right? That's what me and while you were late, me and other Dave were talking about this.
Yeah, I would guess 3.
Best case scenario is you get a 3 cost reduction.
Wait, there's a scry X, isn't there?
Oh yeah. Other Dave pointed it out, but it's a really cost.
But anyway, yeah. Usually you're going to get 2, but you could get 3, or 2 or 1, and you could get 3, I guess.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out what the reasonable top end of this card was for that ability.
But if you scry multiple times, it should stack, right? Say you had a sorcery that costs like 2 black and 8, if you scried multiple times, those would cumulatively add up to 8, and then you cast a superpower spell for 2 black.
Would it?
I assume. It says whenever you scry, the next instant or sorcery spell costs X less, where X is the number of scrying, so each time you scry, it would just add to that number, right? To reduce it each time.
Ooh,
There might be some
there's
weird
going to
rules
be
thing, but
day one judge rulings on this one. But yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, there are a decent amount of Scry X cards now that I am looking at this.
Oh, cool.
So,
Are they in blue and white? Probably. Kind of.
actually, so the first one that I've seen here is in white and red.
Oh, wild! I wouldn't have guessed that.
Scry X, where X is the number of tapped artifacts you control.
Oh,
that's the red part. Yeah.
That's the red part. Yeah.
And then this is what I was talking about before the podcast was Diviner's Portent, which is Scry X, which is 3 blue and X. You roll a d20. And if it's 1 to 14, you draw X cards. And if it's 15 plus, you scry X, then draw X.
That's cool.
Yes, but that's pretty spendy.
Yeah.
Graven Lores, 5, 2 blue, 3 colorless. Scry X, where X is the amount of snow mana spent to cast the spell. So that's a max of Scry 5. Oh, and by the way, the wall that you're looking for is Wall of Denial. And not only is it a 0/8 flying wall for 3, it also has not hexproof, but what came with Shroud. That's Shroud.
Yeah, that's in there. Wall of Denial.
Yeah.
It better be.
But you go to EDH Rec and you're like, that's a sick card. That's a sick card. That's a sick card. You just make a list and then you call them out. So that's how I do it anyways. Your mileage may vary. Anyways, yes, Elminster seems like a neat card. But let's move on.
Yeah, let's do Baldur, everyone's favorite flame whip wielding demon. For 5, 2 red, 3 colorless, you get a 5/5 flying demon. Whenever he attacks or dies, you can choose one or more. Each mode must target a different player. One mode is target opponent draws 3 cards and discards 3 at random. One is target opponent sacrifices a non-token artifact. The other one is Baldur deals damage to target opponent equal to the number of cards in their hand. All those are really nice abilities to have. Anything modal that's going to give me options, I always like. And I also like him in lore, too. So,
Yeah. I think it's cool. You can choose one or more, and typically you have 3 opponents, and there's 3 choices, and you can do some political stuff to see who wants what. If they take out your guy.
Who wants the damage to the face? Not me. I got 12 cards.
Speaking of modal spells, we'll go ahead and do my modal spell. Your temple is under attack. Is 2 and white, and it's choose 1. Pray for protection. Creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. Or strike a deal. You and a target opponent each draw 2 cards. I love these spells that they're doing for the D&D tie-ins, where is like a encounter. You get to make a decision how you handle the encounter. It's very flavorful.
So is the purpose of this card like, hey, if you don't attack me, I'll pick this modal on here and you can draw 2 cards? Because you're supposed to strike a deal, right?
Yeah. I was looking at it purely from the D&D flavor, but that's actually kind of cool to look at it from that.
It's actually a really crappy card draw, but if you're talking it in the concept of like, hey, don't attack me, I'll let you draw 2 cards.
Yeah.
It's actually cool for a commander,
Yeah, because they're like, okay, I'm moving to my attack phase, and then you're like, in my instance, don't attack me, and you can have 2 cards.
I'm going to pick one, which I'm about to pick. You better decide if you're going to attack me or not.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm going to give my stuff indestructible. But if you want cards, I think it's cool.
Yeah, I like
in that regard.
Getting the politics in my commander game.
Otherwise, why are you playing if you're not trying to make deals?
I hate everybody and want them all to be miserable, obviously. Let's talk about your next pick, Ben.
I don't really have one, to be honest. Not that they're bad. It's just
you're sitting in the basement without any power.
Yeah. Right.
So something scurrying off to the side and wondering what it might be.
I'm concealing my turn. There's actually a cricket down here that decided it wanted to show its ass or play its ass. One of the two.
Tell Jiminy to go home. He's drunk.
But yeah, I concede my pick.
All right, you got another one, or are we out for the count there, other Dave?
I got one more here. This is more just because I like the character than it is because her card is interesting, but that's Amber Gristle-Omaw. 3/3 for haste for 4. Whenever she attacks, you can discard your hand. If you do, you draw a card for each player being attacked. She can have a background as a second commander.
I like this card.
That's a pretty nice ability right there, especially when considering that Merit's in the limited environment that this is going to be in. So
yeah,
I think it's a very red ability as well. Discard your hand.
Yeah, you wheel every time you attack. That's great. You get more spells to kill people with.
Tasty. That's a nice pick. Well, I've got a couple, but I'm going to stick some together. The cards that they've done to represent D&D spells in this set are pretty cool. Stone Skin, which is 2 and a white, flash, enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +0/+10. If everybody who's familiar with what Stone Skin does in D&D, I think this is a pretty good representation for Magic. Do you guys agree?
I was looking up this actual D&D spell Stone Skin, hoping that it was at reaction speed and not action speed, and it's not. It's an action because this has flash. So it would have been flavorful even more. I wonder if they have like shield, because shield is a reaction. They made the shield card as flash. That'd be cool.
That sounds like 5e nonsense, man.
What, reactions?
Yeah.
They have bonus actions and stuff.
No, I mean, like it's casting speed reaction. I don't know, man. I did play sorcerers in freaking Dungeons and Dragons. You always buff the party before the dungeon, anyways. Anyways, my personal favorite, the next spell, Cloud Kill, which is 4 black sorcery. All creatures get -X until end of turn, where X is the greatest mana value of a commander you own on the battlefield or in the command zone. So if you've got commander and then a background, you have, theoretically, it has to have background, and then the highest cost background you could get with the intention of never casting the background. You just want the mana.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah.
So that you can
Cloud kill, huge, but have your commander when you want it.
Yeah, have your commander when you want it, and then Cloud Kill with a pretty good X -X. Moving on to my pick for most flavorful card of the Baldur's Gate set, and that is a Runaway.
Does it taste like Halo?
It does not. It tastes like love. It's called Runaway Together. It's a 1 and a blue instant. Choose 2 creatures controlled by 2 different players. Return those creatures to their owner's hand. And the art of this card is like absolutely amazing. It's a Ithlid and I don't know, a goblin or a troll.
Is it a tabaxi? No, it's an orc or a troll. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like fixing to embrace, like they're in love. It's so freaking cute. And
did you read the flavor text?
I'll read it out loud because it is also very great. True love means always knowing what's on the other's mind, and it's the Ithlid who can read minds. See, this is like you want to lick this card. It's so full of flavor. So that concludes the Baldur's Gate top picks from us. While we're here, we'll go thus far. Well, I'm not doing this again, man. Unless something happens where we have to talk about something, but it's not going to be a review show. But while we're talking about Baldur's Gate, we'll just go ahead and drop the bit of news WotC let out since the last podcast, which was that the Baldur's Gate set is going to be a little harder for everyone to find than originally expected. Supply chain woes has made it so that this set has experienced a lot of production delays. So depending on where you live in the world, you will either be very limited or delayed in regards to sealed product for this set. So There'll be a link in the show notes so you can look up your region and see how exactly it will affect you.
Am I remembering it right that early this year they had to make some kind of judgment calls on which sets to prioritize getting out the right way? And
they
had to delay the unset in favor of New Capenna, Kamigawa and New Capenna.
Yes. Well, I know that they had officially announced the release date for Infinity and then pushed it back because of that. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. So, because
of these woes.
Yeah, and also those woes are why they're charging people more for a sealed product, despite making buckets full of money last year. Spoilers, it's basically everywhere is having some kind of issue with the product for Baldur's Gate, so best of luck to everyone. Hope y'all get what you want. So, let's go ahead and close this puppy down, and why don't you tell everybody where they can find us, Ben?
You can find us on Twitter at MPGPod. My personal Twitter is BeNiceMPG.
If you'd like to write to the show, you can write us an email at
show@magicprovinggrounds.com. Send us some your questions. Send us your ideas. We might read them.
Be sure to tell us how much Ben sucks.
Yeah, that seems to be 100% of our emails that we've received.
Sorry, man. Online billing's real tough.
Yeah, keyboard warriors.
Never heard of them.
Face.
I'll say it to your face.
Yeah, you will.
Let's cue the music and send this one out.
Word. Oh, plug your freezer in. You need to actually plug it in right now.
Dude,
I want to hear that freezer.
Give me that sweet freezer ASMR.
Yeah. Chicken. Come on. I mean, frozen chicken. Do it. Seriously, plug it in now.
Man, I'm not getting up and doing it. You guys leave me alone. I feel like that's pretty good. Do you want me to cut this?
I want you to plug in your freezers.
Oh, my Lord.
I can't stop laughing.
If there was some ASMR freezer noises in there now, then we would be golden.
Give them sweet freezer noises.
Hand them over.
It's the creepiest thing I've ever heard. Hold on, I'm going to point my mic at the freezer and then plug it back in.
Give me that chilly wind.